This is for CFA 6. These are our notes. It is one standard, EE8. We will do these in class. Want to go over this one standard with you. Some of the stuff you already know. So I want you to write this at the top. I think this is also in your packet that I gave you. Section A, label the following items on the graph here at the right. So part A, the x-axis, and then indicate positive and negative directions. So your x is the one that goes this way. And so it is also what we call the independent variable. So I want to label independent variable. So your x, oops, move this over a little bit so you can see that, x-axis, indicate positive and negative. So right here, this is the origin, and that's what they want you to label for part C, and we will do that in just a moment. But as you label positives 1, 2, 3, 4 going to the right, notice I'm labeling the lines. I'm not labeling the spaces. And negatives would be -1, -2, -3, -4. Again, I'm labeling on the lines. Do the same thing with the y-axis. Well, your y-axis is the axis going up and down. This is what we call the dependent variable. So make sure you understand the labels for both of those. Positives going up, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the negatives are going down, -1, -2, -3, -4. The origin is actually right here. We call this 0, 0. 0, 0 is the origin, and we label that, and it is right there in the middle. Whenever you're graphing, you always start at the origin before you move right or left first, and then up or down second. We've done a little bit of graphing with the test 10 that we did, and there were several students that are graphing backwards. They're moving up or down first and then right or left. So something else you need to know are the quadrants. The quadrants were also on test 10 that we did. And so the quadrant 1 is over here, and then we go by Roman numerals. Quadrant 2 is over here. Quadrant 3 is down here. And then quadrant 4 is actually an I with a V, and they actually touch right here at this point. So quadrant 1, if you were to start at the origin, it is positive, positive. You have two positive numbers. You would go right and then up. Quadrant 2 is actually a negative and then a positive. So your x coordinate would be negative, and then your y would be positive. Quadrant 3 is actually negative, negative. In other words, your x is negative and your y is negative. Quadrant 4 over here, you would go positive and then negative. So if you can do this correctly, then you should be able to plot these points and then give that letter name here. So 4, 2 means I go to the right, 4, and then up 2. The first number is our x. We have x comma y, so which way do you go on your x-axis, and then which way do you go on your y? So 4 means 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and then up 2. So that would be point A. B says -3, 4. That means you go left 3 and then up 4. 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4. And give you a chance to graph the others and check to see how you're doing. 0, 3 means you don't move left or right, but you would just go down 3. Point C. -1 means left, -5 means down. Left 1, down 5 for point D. And then 3, -1. 3 means right, negative means down. So positive 3 and down 1 for point E. I noticed on test 10 when we were doing that and we were graphing points, some people are going up or down first. You always start at the origin. The first number tells you if you go right or left, and the second number tells you if you go up or down. So you need to know your quadrants as well as being able to plot these points, and vice versa. If I give you the points, could you give me their coordinates? The next one I want to talk about, plot all these ordered pairs from the muffin problem. So first off, we've got Boston cream and banana nut. These are muffins that we're doing. So we've got the independent variable over here, and then we have the dependent variable here. So what you're noticing is your independent is always your x, and your dependent is always your y. So when you're graphing here, x and y, X is your independent variable, and every time you write this, this helps you remember which one is which. Writing is a way to remember. Y is your dependent variable. The Y depends on whatever we plug in for X. So when we are graphing this, X is 6, Y is 0. You can see our X and our Y axis. What quadrant are we actually working in? We're actually working in quadrant 1. 6, 0 means I go over 6, so you may want to label these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0 means I don't go up, so I would just graph it there. 5, 1 means I go over 5, up 1. 4, 2, over 4, up 2. 3, 3, over 3, up 3. 2, 4, over 2, up 4, and you're starting to notice a pattern where these dots are. Over 1, up 5. 0, 6, meaning I don't move left or right from the origin, but I will go up 6. And something you're going to notice when you plot these ordered pairs is they form a straight line. We actually call this straight line a linear line. It is linear. All of them form a straight line. So I want to write that in our notes. Linear. Linear means that all points are in a straight line on the graph. All points are in a straight line on the graph. If you plot a point that's not in a straight line, then that means you plotted the point incorrectly, because they should fall like all in a straight line. If I make a straight line here and I put some dots, they should all fall on that straight line. We've labeled our independent and dependent variable in the table. We've also labeled our independent and dependent variable on the coordinate plane. A couple other notes I want to add here. Independent variable. Independent variable. Box this in. It's always our X. This can change, or it is the one that we often change. This can change, or is the one we change. So you can change up the independent. The dependent variable actually depends on whatever we plug in for X. So the dependent variable. So if that one's X, the dependent is Y. Y depends on what we plug in for X. Depending on what number we plug in for X, that's what happens with our Y number. This variable depends, just like the word dependent variable, it depends on the independent variable. And remember, we're calling the independent variable X. Again, it depends on what number that X is. Once you know what number X is, then you can figure out what Y would be. So it's important that you understand that. So that's why we're taking these notes on this piece of paper so that you don't lose them. And now we're going to try the other side.